Hello and welcome back to my shooting guide, where we take a look at different tanks in World of Tanks. We analyze their armor, and I pretty much tell you where to shoot at. So today we're going to be going down one of the Soviet medium lines, starting here at Tier 5 with the T-34. Now being Tier 5, it really doesn't have much armor. 45 on the front and the sides, and only 40 on the rear. And with the upgraded turret, you have 52 in the front and the sides, and 45 in the rear. So now we're going to take a look, analyze the armor, and look at the true weak spots of this tank. So being here at Tier 5, there really isn't much to offer. Just looking at the armor layout here, the lower glacis is going to be a little bit tougher. Probably going to need at least 90 millimeters of penetration to go through the bottom plate. Facing straight on, if he's angled, that may pose a little bit more of a threat if you do have a low penetrating gun. The upper plate, however, is a little bit weaker. The lower down you shoot, the easier it will be. So you're going to need about 70 up, depending on where you shoot at. Looks like there's a weak spot right there. Yep, machine gun right here. Only 46 millimeters worth of armor right there. And it looks like this hatch is not a weak spot, so don't shoot there. If you have low penetration, shoot at this gun. It only has 46 millimeters of armor. As for the turret, yeah, it's okay. Looks like the actual turret is in the 70s and 80s. A little weaker. The gun mantlet, though, it's iffy all the way around. There's some spots where it's 50s, 70s, 90s, 200. It all depends on where you shoot at. So, well, you could also shoot at this top hatch. Only 45 millimeters of armor. And this little scope right here, don't shoot that. You'll probably knock out an observation device, but other than that, you won't do any damage. So let's take a look at the sides. Side of the turret, it's in the 60s. So shoot at this flattest portion if you have that available. But if it's angled like that, shoot at the flat portion. So that's pretty much it. Shoot the flat portion. The sides, rather weak, only in the 50s. Some spots are stronger. But as we move down into the track area, you're going to need probably at least 100 to get through the tracks and the side. So if anything, shoot up here at this portion of the tank. Looking at the rear, this bottom can be a little bit tough depending on what kind of angle you're at. And of course this area right here, very weak, especially this little hatch here. This looks like it's in the 50s all the way around. And the back of the turret is weak as well, only in the 40s. If anything, try to shoot it as square on as you can. Straight in the middle, flattest part. So that wraps it up with the T-34. Let's move on to Tier 6. Next up at Tier 6 we have the A-43. It has 60 millimeters of frontal hull armor, 45 on the sides, and 40 on the rear. With the upgraded turret, you get 75 on the front and sides, and the rear. How about that? So let's go take a look at this armor layout. Here we have the A-43 again, as we just took a look at in World of Tanks. Similar to the T-34 in some ways, but it's different. Lower plate, as you can see, is much stronger. 140, 130s. So you're going to need a higher penetrating gun if you want to get through that, especially when it's at an angle as such. Upper plate though, just like the T-34, the farther up you go, the stronger it is. So shoot at the lower portions, and you're still going to need about 70, 80, maybe even 90. And this hatch right here, it's not a weak spot. So if you're looking for a weak spot, don't shoot there. But this machine gun is a weak spot, just like on the T-34. Only 60 millimeters of armor compared to the 80s that it would be around it. For the turret, it's got a pretty decent turret on it. About 115 millimeters of armor. If you're shooting at the turret, the gun mantlet, looks like it's a little bit weaker depending on where you shoot. Looks like over here, it's just spaced armor, but as you move around, it goes crazy. 200. So if you have to shoot at the gun mantlet, shoot it off to the sides. Don't shoot at where the gun is. I'll zoom in. So don't shoot in this area. Shoot in this area, if anything. And of course you can hit that hatch on top, but that's iffy. In some areas it's in the 60s, in other areas it's in the 130s, so you may want to use a little bit of premium if your penetration is really low. On the sides, the turret, it's in the 80s, so doesn't look like there's any noticeable weak spots. Now, I forgot to mention earlier these periscopes up here. Again, just like the T-34, don't shoot at them. You'll knock out the observation device, but that's it. It won't cause any damage at all. These hatches from the side can be a little bit tough, so I wouldn't recommend shooting at them, and if you do, shoot at the very top of this one. Right along the sides is your best chance of doing anything. It's only about 45 millimeters of armor. But as we move down to the tracks, it goes up. So if you have a A43 on the side, sorry, your best shot's going to be all along here. For the rear, don't shoot near the bottom as it's pretty well angled. Looks like if you shoot anywhere around here, you'll be good. Down here, it's iffy, but it's still weak, as you can see. Back of the turret's fairly strong. About 80 millimeters of armor. And it's universal all around. And again up here, you do have that band of really strong armor. And on the top, it's weaker, but it's harder to hit. So if you're at the back of an A43, shoot right along here, and you'll be good to go. So that's about it for the A43. And at tier 7 we have the A44. Now quite a bit of a boost in armor compared to the last tank. We now have 150 millimeters of frontal hull armor, 60 on the sides and rear. And the upgraded turret, 90 all around. So you're really getting an armor boost compared to the last tank in this line. The A44's armor is interesting for being a medium tank. In some places it actually has more armor than the heavies do. And by heavies I'm talking about the IS and the KV3. Lower Glacius is weak, of course. 100 millimeters of armor could go through that, depending on the angle which you're at. And the upper plate is a little bit stronger. 140s. The farther up you go, the stronger it is. And this little band right here of armor looks like it's in the 170s, 150s. So you may not want to shoot right there. And right here, this is definitely a no zone. 207, 210, a tier 7, I don't think you're going to find a tank that can get through that with regular ammo. Probably have to use some premium, but if you have the opportunity, shoot at the lower plate and shoot at this upper plate area, but avoid where these plates connect. As for the turret, we'll turn these colors back on. About 145. That's what it looks like. And the gun mantlet, a lot stronger, 130s depending on where you're shooting at. We'll zoom in a little bit right here. So as with the A43, if you shoot it on the side of the gun mantlet, you should be okay. I'm going to guess that you have about 130 or more penetration, especially at tier 7. And this commander's hatch, just like the A43, it's got a band of armor that is stronger. It's in the weak spot, is going to be the upper portion of the hatch, which makes it harder to hit. Looking at the sides, we have in the hundreds on the side of the turret, about 100. Shoot in the middle, most middle as you can. The sides right here are only 60 millimeters. Those would be easy to go through. I'd say if you can have the good accuracy to go through that, do that. Because the tracks, they're about 100. Well, the sides of the tank is about 100 with the tracks. If you can shoot in this little portion right here, it's only in the 60s. If you can't shoot there, otherwise shoot here. And if you still can't do that, shoot the side of the turret at as flat of an angle as you can. The back of the tank, don't shoot down here, it's very well angled. You probably won't go through it. And there's also another band of armor along here that is rather strong depending on where you shoot at it. So if anything, shoot on this plate right here. Only about 65 millimeters of armor, easy. You can go through that, no problem. The back of the turret's a little bit stronger, in the hundreds, 90s, and looks like it's pretty uniform all around. Depending on the angling, will depend on if you penetrate. So if you're at the back of an A44, mainly shoot at this big plate right here. And as with the hatch on top, it's got the same band of armor, so just be careful if you're shooting at that. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this shooting guide, give it a like down below. In the comments, tell me what kind of tanks you want me to look at next. I'm open to anything tier 5 and up. And I probably won't be doing artillery, so don't ask for it. Also, if you could share this video with your friends, that'd help me out a lot, and I'd appreciate that. So, again, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later.